Hey guys, welcome back. This is your host Pro John Mandona and I will be your online tutor in advanced science. So before anything, I want us to hit that subscribe button so that we can receive the latest videos, the latest tutorials and information that will set you guided to science. So we're going to proceed from our previous lecture in chemistry. And since we now understand the basic concepts, which is about the introduction of chemistry, this time we're going to go to a second lecture which involves atoms, elements, molecules, mixtures, and compounds. So now let us quickly go through today's lecture. So the first thing that we have to know is that we need to be able to understand or define an atom. So what can be an atom? An atom is actually defined as the smallest unit of matter that can take part in a chemical reaction. So let me give an example, a simple illustration of a chalk. If you have a piece of chalk, and that we already know that a piece of chalk is used to write on the board, isn't it? On a black board. So if we get that piece of chalk and break it down into very tiny pieces, those tiny pieces can also be used to write on the board. So which means an atom in illustration of the tiny pieces can also take part in a chemical reaction as an element, same as how an element can take part in a reaction. So now, let us try to illustrate the structure of an atom. So an atom is actually made up of two major parts, and these parts are one, the shells. The shells are also known as energy levels, which contains electrons, and electrons have a negatively charged have is a negatively charged particle. We also have the second part, which is the nucleus. So the nucleus also contains two particles in it, and this is the proton, which is positively charged, and the neutron without any charge. So now let us take a look at how an atom looks like. So this is an atom. So the ring-like structure that you're able to see, these are what we're calling shells, and these round figures that you can see around it, these are the electrons. And at the middle, the center there, the central part of an atom, that is what we're calling the nucleus. As you can see, we have two different particles there. We have the one having a positively charged, this is a neutron, and we also have the other one having no charge there, that is what we call a neutron. So we have a proton, which is positively charged, sorry, and a neutron having no charge. So after learning about the atom, we actually need to understand what an element is. An element is actually defined as a pure substance that cannot be split into or more different pure substances. For example, sodium or hydrogen. So regardless to how many times you split it up or cut it up physically, just know that it cannot be split up in different substances. So if you have an element which is hydrogen, if you try to split up hydrogen, it is still going to be an hydrogen, it is still going to contain hydrogen. It won't have different different elements or different pure substances. We also have what we call a molecule. A molecule is defined as a substance formed when an atom bonds with another atom. So what happens here is that you can have atoms of the same elements or atoms of different elements. So as long as these atoms are bonded together, they make up a molecule. Let us give an example of nitrogen. So nitrogen is something that nitrogen contains two nitrogen atoms. So we have one hydrogen atom bonded to another nitrogen atom. So the two nitrogen atoms are bonded together. This forms a molecule, one molecule of nitrogen. We also have iodine with a 2 there, two atoms of iodine. So two iodine atoms are bonded together forming a molecule. We also have water. So water contains oxygen bonded to hydrogen with another hydrogen. So that is the bonding of water. So as far as I'm concerned, as we can all see, we have one atom of oxygen there and two atoms of hydrogen bonded together. That forms a molecule. We also have ozone and glucose. There are a lot of examples under molecules, but these are just a few. We also need to understand what a compound is. So a compound is a substance that is formed when two or more atoms of different elements are held together by bonds and cannot be split by physical means. So this statement means to say that you're going to have two elements, and these two elements are going to be bonded together, and when they are bonded together they cannot be removed, they cannot be separated physically, but they can only be separated using chemical means. What example can we give on a compound? An example to give is salt, which is sodium chloride, having two elements there. We have also baking soda, sodium hydrogen carbonate. We also have hydrogen peroxide, alcohol, methane. And one thing that you're supposed to know here is that all compounds are molecules and not all molecules are compounds. Why are we trying to say that? Because we are trying to, this statement is made possible because uh, all compounds actually have atoms of different elements bonded together. As we can see, for salt, sodium chloride, we have two different atoms bonded together. And if we take an example of iodine, we have two iodine atoms which are bonded together. So carbon, a compound constitutes of only different atoms bonded together, whereas if we go to a molecule contains either atoms of the same elements or atoms of different elements. So no wonder we make this statement to say all compounds are molecules and not all molecules are compounds. Lastly, we need to know what a mixture is. A mixture is a combination of two or more substances that are physically combined, and it can comprise of different compounds, or can be a combination of atoms and compounds mixed together. So these can actually be separated using physical terms or physical means. So an example that can be separated using physical means is that a mixture of sand and water, you can separate this by filtration. A mixture of salt and water, we can separate this by evaporation process. And a mixture of sugar and salts. So after understanding those terms briefly, we are now going to explain the differences between compounds and mixtures. The first difference is in their definitions. A compound is a substance that can be formed by chemically combining two or more elements. You need to know that it is a chemical combination of two or more elements, whereas a mixture is just a physical combination of two or more substances. They are physically combined. The other difference is in their types. So now, a compound actually exists in these three types. Number one, covalent compounds, which means that atoms of non-metallic atoms combine together to form compounds. We also have what we call metallic compounds, where only metallic atoms combine with each other to form compounds, and also ionic compounds. Ionic compounds constitute of atoms of both non-metallic and metallic atoms will combine together, and if they combine together they are going to form ionic compounds. Whereas if we go to a mixture actually exists in either homogeneous mixtures or heterogeneous mixtures. Homogeneous mixtures means to say that these are mixtures of the same kind which you cannot actually distinguish, whereas heterogeneous means that it is a variety or you can easily distinguish between the two substances that are mixed together. We also have a difference in their substance category. Pure substances fall under, compounds actually fall under pure substances. This will be explained as we proceed, whereas mixtures are categorized to be impure substances. And these two statements will be explained as we proceed. The other difference is in terms of their composition details. A compound actually has composition. They are composed of atoms that have a fixed amount or a fixed percentage. There is no the way atoms combined in a compound has its fixed composition which allows it to be stable, whereas for a mixture actually has a variety in terms of composition, so which means one substance can be in excess than the other. Why? Because they are not chemically combining but physically combining. It's also in terms of their nature, the differences in terms of their nature. Compounds are always homogeneous in nature. What does it mean? It means that if you combine the two, you are not going to have any differences. There is no distinction between the two elements or the two atoms that are forming a compound. Whereas if we go to a mixture can exist as an homogeneous mixture or an heterogeneous mixture. So these are the natures of these a compound and a mixture. We also have differences in terms of their properties. You're going to find that if you combine two elements together to form a compound, they are going to have similar properties. It means that it is only going to develop one distinct type of property, which means that those separate elements will not have separate properties. Their separate properties will not be shown or will not be dominant. Whereas if we go to a mixture, the mixture actually each separate substance has its own property and it will exist in that way, so which means no new property will be found or will be formed. And lastly, we have differences in terms of substances that are formed. When a compound is formed, when elements combine, a new different substance is formed. Whereas if we take a look at a mixture, when two substances are combined together, they do not form any new substance. Why? Because they remain the same regardless them being combined together. That was my presentation that I had for you. Thank you for watching, guys. And I would like you to subscribe to this YouTube channel so that you can get the latest videos, the latest tutorials. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope that helped you a lot as you study. Thank you a lot. See you in the next lesson.